So there are a lot of ways that you would describe a fight card after it went off, you know, especially pay-per-view, like, wow, what an amazing card, or man, that was kind of weak. This one was just weird. Like, this was one of the weirdest cards that I think I've ever seen. Now, the main event with Pereira and Garry, that is different. That was unbelievable. But the rest of the card was just weird. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the main card, right? You got some big up-and-comers, Talbot and Pfeiffer that are, or Pfeiffer, Jesus, really, Jesse on fire? But both those guys are absolute savages. Huge, bright future. But I'm not going to talk about those in this video. I want to talk about the main card, okay? Because again, one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in the fight business. So we're going to talk about all of that. But that's why I'm wearing these glasses, because they represent how weird the card was. It's like, why? That's pretty weird, dude. You're just wearing some just rando shades in a video. It's like, yeah, this is a weird night, dude. So, yeah, I don't even know where I want to start. Probably the Ian Garry and MVP fight. We'll start there with how bizarre that was. And then we'll get into the implications of all of the things that just happened also, because Dana just talked about, you know, whether Pereira is going to go to heavyweight, what he thought of the Ian and MVP. But basically, I don't know, man. We're just going to talk, dude. We're just going to talk. This is a wild night. A lot of topics, though. Number one, who Pereira is going to fight next, because Dana has, he's telegraphed that. Who he's going to fight next. Who Ian Garry's going to fight next, because Dana also telegraphed that. What you do with MVP, I don't even know, man. Just this Diego and Ige coming in, and just the overarching theme of when did it become cool for fighters to just drop out of fights all the time? Like, it's either the UFC's cursed right now, or there is a new trend where fighters are like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to fight. It's like, you signed a bout agreement. They're like, I don't know, man. I have other things I really want to do. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, by the way, if you haven't yet. If you're new to this channel and you're like, who's this guy wearing sunglasses? This is a dude who doesn't normally wear sunglasses. But like I said, I feel like I just watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Let's just start right here really quick, just because Jamal Hill's reaction to Garry getting knocked out is amazing, because no one except for Pereira and his team and his family were as excited to see that outcome as Jamal Hill, for obvious reasons. And if you don't know why, I will explain in a second. Oh! First of all, let me also say, what exactly was Herb Dean waiting for on that? Like, what did Garry do aside from, accordion fall down to make it seem like, well, I guess that wouldn't support that he's in a position to defend himself. Like, he was not defending himself, obviously. I was like, what is Herb waiting for exactly right now? Yeah, Garry didn't know where he was. But anyway, Jamal Hill here is as excited as anybody else, because you know what happens when Alex wins that decisively is it takes the sting off of his loss, obviously. It's like, oh, all right, well, fuck, man. Because Garry is obviously one of the biggest savages ever. And it's like, oh, well, if he got stretched out like that also, then, I could probably relax a little bit on feeling terrible about getting knocked out by what might be the most prolific striker of this generation in the UFC. Actually, yeah, I don't know. I haven't gotten into the generational conversation in my brain yet, but I don't think that is hyperbole at this point. That guy was amazing. He looked so good. We're going to talk about him shortly. I'm going to get to him after these other couple fights, but just as an overarching theme about Alex Pereira, he looked unreal. He looked the best he's ever looked, in my opinion. I mean, like, I saw, a significant, increase in quality just because his jab was so fast. Like, I don't know where that came from. Like, he was stepping into it and it was just lightning fast. We were like, where did that come from? All right, we're going to continue with Poetan news in a second. But first, I'm going to tell you about Ian Garry, MVP's fight, what Dana said. And I have to show you a promotional ad, dude. I have to. Why don't you just sit and relax and just watch it really quick, And I promise the rest of the video is going to be amazing. It'll be worth your time. I appreciate you guys. Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits led by the sponsor of today's video, Fume. What would happen if someone took a vape out of your pocket and broke it into a million pieces? Well, you might want to find out once you tried Fume. We all have bad habits. Mine is the kind that you think you're doing so well without. Then you're out with your friends and they're all reaching for their bad habits and you feel the urge to not be left out and you ask to borrow one of your friends. Well, what if there's a way to take an alternative that doesn't include you having to take up someone else's bad habit? One that might even help you kick a bad habit that you have and something that you could take with you when you leave the house. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. You get to draw the flavor into your mouth while not using any vapor. You can use it anywhere and there's no nicotine, so it's non-addictive. It tastes amazing. If you're a fidgeter and you just want something that's gonna make it taste good and help you kick that habit, Fume is the device for you. My personal favorite is the orange vanilla. That has been the favorite since I started with these things and it continues to be my favorite now. For a limited time, use my code Jesse to get your free Fume base when you order the Journey Pack. It's the all-new magnetic stand for your Fume device. Head to tryfum.com, that's tryfume.com, and use code Jesse or scan the QR code on screen to get your free Fume base when you order your Journey Pack today. I told you it would be worth your time. Now you know that that device exists and that you can snap it up if you want to. All right, so this is Dana White talking about MVP and Ian Garry, and then I'll tell you what I think about what to do with both of them.
To this fight, I had that fight a draw. Yeah. I mean, if they came out and said that fight was a draw, that's exactly what I thought that fight was too. Obviously, Ian won the first round. MVP won the second round, and it was 50-50 in the third round, you know?
Okay, that I don't agree with. And I guarantee if anybody watches it back, they will agree with me. Because the reason why people are thinking that the third round was 50-50 is because the first half MVP was on top and the second half Ian Garry was on top. But here's the problem with that. Go watch the first half of that round again. Okay? Yeah, MVP was on top and Ian Garry landed 50 elbows and MVP landed nothing. Ian Garry for sure won that third round. Absolutely for sure. Go watch the third round again. There's no question there. But in terms of what to do with both of them and just the conversation in general around that fight, dude, I don't think that exposed Ian Garry in terms of being on the feet. I think it showed that MVP is completely next level in what he does. Like he is so fast. Ian Garry makes everyone look slow. And MVP was just like, I mean, that was crazy. But I did think it was incredibly impressive that Ian Garry took him down and almost strangled him in the first round, which clearly was one of the potential game plans for him to implement. I actually bet on him by submission because it was like plus 800. And I was like, dude, Ian Garry is such a savage. He's down in Brazil training. I could see him straight up just taking him down and submitting him and then being like, oh, I thought you guys thought I was just a striker. What's up now? Which he almost did. I still can't really even figure out how MVP got out of that situation. Like, because the choke seemed locked in. MVP's not like super good at defending it. So I don't know. That was weird. I need to watch it back. Either way, both Ian Garry and MVP are vicious. Like that's my takeaway, is not that like the fight was a little bit whatever just because of the stylistic matchup. But yeah, I'm bullish on both of them, actually. Dana alluded to Ian Garry doing Colby Covington next. So, and Dana said it, like Ian Garry was yelling for Colby to Dana. And then Dana said, they asked if Colby had turned that fight down. And Dana was like, no, he's like, Colby doesn't turn fights down. So, yeah, I mean, who else is Colby going to fight? Who else is going to fight next? You know what I mean? Anyway, so listen, and that, man, I'm biting my tongue how badly I want to get to the Poatan stuff, but the only other thing I actually want to talk about on this, or two things I want to talk about on this fight card, was the Anthony Smith fight. I'm going to tell you right now, first of all, I bet heavy on Anthony. I normally never bet on guys that I like actually care about, you know what I mean? I always bet on the other guy. But I handicapped this fight and I went and looked at Dolidze and all that, and this is nothing against Dolidze, but like Anthony should have won that fight. On paper, bottom line, Anthony should have won that fight. And what I saw out there was not Anthony looking slow or any of that. Like, he needs a sports psychologist. That's what that was. either that or he's, okay, actually, I'll give you 3 options. Either he's sick, okay? Either he's sick, he was compromised some way for whatever reason, or he's a sports psychologist, because like he just didn't go. You know, there were a few sequences in the first, second, actually in every round, where I was like, okay, there's no other explanation here. Like, it's not like he threw a counter that was slow and he looked out of sorts. He just didn't throw it to where it was like, there's something going on with him right now. That's all I'll say about that. He should have won that fight, you know, on paper. But I mean, listen, dude, Delize took it on short notice, and congratulations to him. And so did Anthony. That's the other thing too. You got to keep in mind on, you know, I'm sure people are going to be like, it's time to retire. Prepare. But the other thing is, like, ultimately people's career comes down to the organization, right? Anthony took this fight on short notice after he took the Roundtree fight on short notice. Like, that matters to the UFC. That really matters. Like, big name guy like him that takes fights on short notice, almost enough to where like the outcome kind of doesn't even matter. I mean, it matters if you're in a title picture or whatever, but in terms of like your career moving forward, as long as, you know, you fit, like, whatever's going on, just fix it, you know, for the next fight. Cause that was not a physical thing tonight. I don't think. He's a better fighter. Like, he is the better fighter in my opinion. He just like actually not even my opinion. It's just objective. He is a better fighter, but, man, that was, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what happened. Like, the second round, that was so, I don't know what was going on. I honestly, like, I don't know what was going on. But anyway, I'm sure he's really bummed out. He should just like talk to someone, because if he's pulling the trigger, he wins that fight for sure. Anyway, so, okay, then the Dan Ige and Diego fight, dude, listen, like, bottom line, both those guys, absolute savages. There's nothing to add there, dude, except I would say Dan Ige wins that fight if it goes 5 rounds. But the main thing I want to talk about when it comes to that fight is, you know, I know Ortega had 103-degree fever. I'm not like throwing rocks at him specifically. I'm just saying that, like, Macy Barber pulled out of her fight. Okay. Supposedly she has like Epstein-Barr or some shit, mono or something. So you got Macy Barber, you got Brian Ortega. Okay. You got Conor McGregor. You've got Jamal Hill. You got Khalil Roundtree. You got Khamzat Chimaev. I haven't even like, you know, then you got the dude that Anthony was supposed to fight. Like, I'm not even trying. Like, these are just in the last 3 cards, big name people who just dropped out at the last minute. Now, am I saying they're not sick or they're not injured? Of course not. So maybe the UFC's cursed. But it's either the UFC's cursed or there has been a change in mindset among fighters in terms of when they will fight and when they won't, in terms of, you know, like, they have a signed bout agreement and whether or not they're actually going to go, because the uptick is crazy. I mean, this is wild in the last few cards, you know. But maybe they're just cursed. Maybe it's the Conor McGregor curse, you know. It is crazy to think about that we would have just seen Chandler and Conor fight tonight. But yeah, I don't know, man. Poetan's unreal. So let's talk about that, actually. So what's next for him is heavyweight. He's going heavyweight. At least, well, Dana said that Rogan, first thing was like, let him go to heavyweight, man. Just let him go to heavyweight. And he said, I know that's what everybody wants to see. That's Dana speak for. Of course he's going to do it, dude. So that's really exciting. But he also said that Poetan was ready to just immediately turn around and fight again. And you know what, actually, I want you guys to actually hear what Dana said, because this is one of the smartest takes that I've heard in a long time. And you're going to say, well, that's bias coming from Dana, but well, let's just have him talk about all of this stuff.
Saying Alex Pereira at heavyweight is awfully intriguing. I know we got Jones and Stipe, we got Aspinall and Blades.
I'm standing up there with the belt and I had Joe Rogan in my ear the whole time we were up there. Let him fight heavyweight. Come on. Just do it. So, I know that's what people want to see. we'll see how this whole thing plays out. They wants to see him go to heavyweight. And when we were talking to him tonight, he doesn't give a shit. He said, I'll fight at heavyweight. I'll fight wherever you want, whenever you want. He's ready to turn around and wants to fight again right away. So he's that guy. He's a savage, man. The guy's an absolute stud. And not to mention the fact that he's a smart guy and realizes time isn't your friend in this game. And get in there, accomplish as many great things as you can. Like you guys were saying, whoever said it earlier, look at what a huge star he's become in such a short amount of time, because people in the fight business love guys who want to fight, love guys who want to finish, love guys who want to compete. As a fight fan, he's like the ideal fighter.
That's a fact. Here's the thing too. When Dana just said time is not your friend, it's so obvious when he says it, you know, like it's such an obvious point, like time's not your friend, so fight as much as you can. But it's crazy to think about how people don't do that. You know what I mean? Like seriously think about it. It's like it doesn't matter. Like I think people think that like if a fighter's not making $1 million every time they fight, that somehow the rules are different. It's like, no, the rules are not different. If a fighter's making 60 and 60, right? They, you know, if they're 60 and 60 is that's not big comp, you know, if they win, or it's seemingly not big comp, except if they win, it's 120 grand for one fight. And if they're like, let's go, turn me around, assuming that they're not injured and they fight 3 times, 360, that's not bad money, dude, at all. That's great money for regular folks. You know what I mean? So, and let's say that there's someone that's at 100 and 100. Now you're at 200K. You know, you fight 3 times, get a bonus. Like that's real money. And the point that he's making is like, when are you, or at least the point I'm hearing is like, when are you going to be able to make, you know, $200,000 for anything all at once 6 years from now? You know, if you're 33 years old, like where are you going to be able to do that? Spoiler, you're not. Like here's the spoiler alert. You're not going to be able to. There is no option there. That's not a thing that's going to happen. And so when you really think about it that way, it is actually common sense. It's like, yeah, you should be fighting as much as possible. I'm not saying that people should fight hurt. I'm not saying they should fight compromised, but they should be itching to get back in there and fight. You know what I mean? Bottom line. I guess when you get up to the title, you start being selective, obviously. And I think that people are just thinking like that they can't take risks because they're trying to get to the title. But that's honestly not necessarily the best strategy, because it's like only one person can be the champion. One. But you for sure can make, you know, $600,000 this year if you fight 4 times, you know, depending on who you are. You can control that. You know what I mean? Anyway, just food for thought. Now, on him going to heavyweight, I think that is highly likely to happen. Also, Izzy don't want it, dude. Do you guys think, you think Izzy wants that rubber match? You think Izzy wants that? As a matter of fact, you know what's gangster? I bet you he does. I bet you he does. I bet you he does want that rubber match, which is super gangster. But I mean, wanting it and winning it are 2 very different things, because that guy is unreal. Poatan is unreal. I mean, like, you got to start looking at like Ankalaev. That's the guy, you know, to give him a fight, because Ankalaev can grapple and strike. It'll be a huge test if he can deal with Ankalaev's takedowns. But he's the last hope. You know what I mean? Like if he doesn't beat Pereira, then you're going to be looking at Pereira walking through. He's just going to be like Anderson Silva, where he just beats people, beats him. You know, maybe he'll go to heavyweight and take some challenges. I think the Tom Aspinall fight is a tough one for him. But we'll know more after he fights someone who's good enough on the feet to set up, you know, takedowns. And then we'll find out how legit Alex Pereira's black belt in jiu-jitsu is, you know? Anyway, I don't know, dude. Like, the reason why I said the fight, the card is so weird is because under normal circumstances, you go into a pay-per-view and you come out with a bunch of like new information. You're like, okay, how good is this guy really? You know? And you're like, okay, now we know that this guy either is super good or is, you know, maybe not as good as we thought. Or who's this guy going to fight? You know, like you get like decisive information. Okay, we got one piece of decisive information. That's Alex Pereira is the best fighter in the world. Aside from that, it's like, okay, how good is he in Garry? You're like, I don't know. You know, what about MVP? You're like, I don't know. Not sure, you know? And it's like, well, what about, you know, what about Diego and, you know, Ige? You're like, both gangsters. What do you do with them next? I don't know. I have no idea. What do you think? You know? And then like Anthony, you know, like the Anthony fight, it's like you got to against Delize, super short notice. It's like, so what do you do with Anthony Smith? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. Like, he does, like, to me, he looks very much not slow. He looked fine. Like, he looked totally fine to me, except he just did not throw any punches or kicks. Like, I really think there is a high probability that there was something going on with him where he was compromised. Like, maybe he was really, really sick, or, yeah, because that especially the second round, like that, like, Anthony's one of the best grapplers in the UFC. Like, I don't know. That was just that. Like, I don't know what to make of that performance. I really don't. I'm obviously not shitting on the guy. I love that fucking guy. It's just confusing. You know what I mean? I'll be interested to hear what he says whenever he talks about it. But yeah, no decisive information there. Like, it's just a weird night, man. Anyway, I'll have more videos today later. We got to talk about Paige Van Zant's slap debut, which was amazing, by the way. I was wrong about that. Straight up. I was definitely wrong about Paige, dude. She's a gangster. I'm telling you right now, Paige to power slap might be Mike Perry to bare knuckle. Seriously. Female power slap. Anyway, that's enough. Love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Bye-bye.